Hello everyone, I'm Pete O'Farrell.
And I'm Jessica Kurgo. This is your January installment of Walpole News Today. Will Walpole taxpayers be footing the bill for another school building project? A regional simple majority vote on a new school building is tentatively scheduled to take place on October 24th between the 11 communities in the Tri-County Vocational Technical School District. At a recent select board meeting, Tri-County Superintendent Karen McGuire presented the results of a recent feasibility study, which found that the cost of a remodel to the current building in Franklin or a remodel with an addition would be similar to the cost of building a new school. McGuire also described what the election process will look like and 2 draft pieces of legislation aimed at offsetting the cost to communities of vocational school construction. While the board was generally supportive of the legislation, some members expressed hesitation. Tri-County High School is one of 26 regional vocational schools in Massachusetts, providing vocational and technical training to 1,000 students across 11 towns, including Walpole. The Tri-County School District recently submitted a schematic design proposal to the MSBA. The financial impact to Walpole would likely amount to over $1 million per year for 30 years. Tri-County does not expect to have exact estimates for the cost of the project until late June.
We were surprised to see when it all came out in the wash that we were talking about a new building at roughly the same amount. It is not a town by town vote, it's a regional vote. So it's yes, it's 50% plus 1 of the collective group that votes. So it's not Walpole says yes, Sherburne says no, it's not that at all. It's of all of the community members from the 11 towns that come out to vote. It's 50% plus 1 of that group collectively. If it's approved, then the towns would determine how they would handle it, whether they go back to the voters for an exclusion or an override, or whether they want to find it in their budget. And we have 2 new bills that have just been filed. In fact, Senator Feeney actually filed one for us, and Representative Scanlon and Marcus Vaughn, the newest rep here from Norfolk, just signed on to it today. I'll give you those numbers, you can look them up, but they both talk about funding vocational school projects, regional vocational school projects. We're asking for them to allocate $3 billion for these projects so that we can divide it up to help offset.
I don't want to send the message that I'm not supportive of educating the kids. I am, and I'm supportive of doing it the right way and the best way, but not necessarily the way that spends the most money either. So it's really that conversation happens in parallel with educating the kids and again, looking for ways to do it in an economically feasible way.
It's a really, really big money crunch from our point of view. And I don't see any good ways, and I don't think Jim does either, with how we would fund that. The fact that it's a few years away is nice, but we're just worried about when on the town side. I don't think we're adding any new positions at the beginning of this budget year. The schools are really struggling to keep the positions they have and add on some of the mandated positions for special ed. So I just don't see any easy solution to coming up with that kind of money.
Walpole's not alone in having other municipal buildings happening at the same time. It's just the fact of what's going on. Everybody's building schools, and these schools are all timing out at the same time.
I do think there could be some benefit to getting with the legislators and working through the state and seeing what we can do to creatively solve this, because I'm frankly fearful about how this might play out to the town of Walpole, and I don't want to see that happen. At the same time, I don't want to see you not able to deliver the education that you need to be delivering.
The Select Board voted to close the 2023 Spring Town Meeting warrant with a total of 31 articles. According to his January 10th update, Town Administrator Jim Johnson will spend the next few months consulting with other boards and Town Council to finalize the warrant before the May 1st meeting.
Off the top of my head, I know we have 6 articles relating to the six downside contracts that are up to be expired. We have the budget. We have 4 articles related to sewer and water, simply relating to their in-year budget and their fiscal 24 budget. We have, is it 8 zoning articles?
8 plus the one tonight.
So 9 zoning articles. Okay. 8 of them will be sponsored by the planning board.
2 assessors.
2 assessors to reduce some of the taxes on some of the residents who may need it, which is a good thing.
Petition.
1 citizen's petition for Eastland Circle to have that paved through a betterment, which we haven't done, but that I think the citizen who's sponsoring it, she's great to work with, and we can work through it for sure.
Liz's article.
Oh, and Liz's article to clarify typos and throughout the budget, so throughout the charter or bylaws. So it's not that much. 31's a lot compared to what we've done recently, but it's not a, I think we can get through it.
Motion to close the 2023 Spring Town Meeting warrant.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 500.
According to Town Clerk Elizabeth Gaffey, Walpole had a 62.7% voter turnout in the November 2022 state and federal midterm election. In her post-election update to the Select Board, Gaffey applauded election workers and volunteers for the successful execution of 2 elections over the span of 3 months, despite challenges adjusting to mail-in voting, which represents over half of Walpole's voter turnout, and other policies set forth by the state legislature in 2022. According to Gaffey, confrontational statements directed at the clerk's office worsened complications throughout the election process. Select Board Chair James O'Neill recognized the rights of voters to call the process into question while condemning attacks toward the town clerk's office and any interference with the process. Here's more from the clerk's discussion with the board.
This was quite a 12-week stint for the office. Mailing of over 10,000 vote-by-mail and absentee ballots, and receiving back over 8,000 ballots. When the ballots are received back, we then needed to organize the ballots by precinct, by street and number, and then by your last name. Signatures needed to be checked on all 8,000 ballots and absentee ballots, a very time-consuming and daunting task to complete, not only for the primary, but for the general election as well. Our lives take a back seat to the election process, and if that wasn't enough, the political climate of mistrust, constant confrontational, accusatory statements, questions that are asked of us that suggest we may compromise not only the integrity of our office, but that of the procedures and laws that they feel are not being followed properly. This is enough to bring the strongest of people to ask themselves why we do this job. But my staff and I carry on knowing that we are providing the town of Walpole confidence, integrity, and order to the election process. It's sad to say we needed to have a police presence for early voting, early removal of ballots, and we could have used them for the testing of the voting equipment. These are events that take place for every election, and we never thought of needing security for them ever before.
You have always demonstrated complete competence, and I have full faith in you and your staff to deliver an election for the town of Walpole that is, has integrity and that is run properly, and that gets the right result coming out. It is unfortunate that there are those who call into question the processes that we run. It's a fact of life, unfortunately, and frankly, it's something that, under the First Amendment, we encourage in our country. The attacks that you had to go through, in my mind, were just unwarranted and unconscionable. Going forward, if we need to make sure that we have police presence from start to finish, for anything that you need, all you need to do is tell us that, and I assure you that will happen. I would just simply ask you to think about how do we prevent that from happening in the future, all the while recognizing people's right to speak their mind. It's not about that. It's about interfering with the process. That's not right.
On February 6th, Town Administrator Jim Johnson delivered his budget message for fiscal year 2024 right here at the Walpole Media Studios. Here are some highlights from his statement.
This budget addresses the diverse and varied needs of our community while also being mindful of the financial position of Walpole's taxpayers. I would like to thank all of those who have assisted in this process. I look forward to working with the Select Board, the Finance Committee, and the School Committee as we finalize the FY24 budget over the next few months. The proposed fiscal year 2024 budget that I present to you totals $114.4 million. The primary source of revenue for Walpole is the property tax levy. The total amount anticipated to be raised from the tax levy for fiscal year 2024 is $92.3 million, which utilizes the full limits of Proposition 2.5. As we budget for 24, we have 6 union contracts that are on the town side that are set to expire at the end of this fiscal year. I expect that over the next few months, town officials will continue to work with the various municipal unions towards settling each of these contracts before they expire. The fire department budget will increase by about $177,000 this year. Last year at this time, we had 47 total firefighters funded as part of the operating budget. I'm pleased to report that the fiscal 24 budget fully funds the 47 firefighters and adds a new deputy chief position that will oversee emergency medical services and training. This year, the total public education line recommended is $55.1 million. Increases in the operating budget, such as those I have faced in recent years, in response to the needs of the educational budget, are simply not sustainable within the available reoccurring funds. We must carefully work with all school officials to evaluate all requests for additional funding in the years to come. The fiscal 24 debt budget, which is set to be $7.7 million, is approximately $1.1 million higher than fiscal 23, due primarily to funding for the debt exclusion vote for the new middle school.
Walpole will form a 7-member advisory committee of various community representatives to support the direction of a wayfinding and branding grant recently awarded to the town through the Department of Housing and Community Development. Per the grant initiative, the committee will work alongside Walpole's assigned consultant Mark Faverman of Faverman Designs, providing input regarding Walpole's history and character. The grant aims to develop 3 different design patterns, a set of wayfinding and branding elements, and cost estimates to implement the signs. Director of Community and Economic Development Patrick Deschaines further described the grant process at a recent select board meeting.
You essentially created an advisory committee who will be able to meet at least monthly with the consultant as the consultant reviews town history, town character. Usually they kind of rely on this advisory committee for local knowledge and feedback. Throughout the process, we will walk away with 3 different design patterns, a hierarchy of wayfinding elements, which has to do mostly with signage and different interpretive signage, and then you walk away with cost estimates.
I think a board of 7 is more reasonable.
Okay.
I think there's too much discussion, and then progress is hard to make. Cultural Council or Historical Commission, I don't feel there's necessary to have both. And that's
take
kind
the
of
business owner off.
take the business owner off and
take rec off.
Take rec off, and then knock it down to 1 citizen. Motion to appoint Wayfinding and Branding Committee with 7 members as recommended by the Select Board.
Perfect, thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. 5-0-0.
At the end of January, a new curbside compost collection program began in Walpole through the company Black Earth Composting. In a presentation sponsored by Walpole Green and the Friends of the Walpole Public Library, Mary McDougall of the Walpole Waste Reduction Committee explained different options for at-home composting. Walpole residents can now enroll in a bi-weekly Black Earth pickup program for either a monthly or semi-annual fee. Basic composting bins are also available for purchase from the Walpole Health Department for a reduced retail cost of $25. Here's more from the January 12th presentation.
You can see that Walpole has the honor, dubious honor, of being one of the red spots on the map. So my next slide shows a little bit better close-up of what's happening with Walpole, and you can see the guide at the bottom. And our area is anywhere from 2,001 to 2,500 pounds of trash, so that's a lot. The red is showing that we're really on the higher end of things. And so it really shows a need for work in the waste reduction department, right? And there's a spectrum there. There's food waste reduction, there's recycling, there's better use of resources. But Black Earth is a food waste composting company that will come and pick up curbside. They do provide services in 80 towns across Massachusetts, so it is a service that's become pretty popular over the time. And so we're pretty excited to let you know that they have agreed to take enrollments in Walpole and start service in Walpole.
The school department's total requested budget for fiscal year 24 increased by 4.2% from last year. At their January 19th public budget hearing, the school principals presented their respective budgets, explaining why certain line items increased from the current budget. Inflation has had a significant impact on the overall price of supplies, as has transportation. Teachers also report continual effects on learning from the COVID-19 pandemic. Having voted to approve the budget at their January 26th meeting, the school committee will present it to the Finance Committee prior to the Springtown meeting.
Elementary school students in Walpole are learning how to code with robots. With the district's new K-5 media STEM curriculum, students are introduced to coding, digital literacy, engineering, design principles, and library skills. The program reaches students once or twice a week as part of the 4-day special rotation, according to Director of Digital Learning Tom Reeves. During a recent school committee meeting, the 4 digital literacy coaches at Walpole's elementary schools highlighted some of the projects from the past semester and explained how the tools and activities tie into the curriculum. Here's more from that meeting.
Students at the elementary level have access to many different types of robots throughout the school year. The first one is, they're called B-bots. They help to teach students directional code, and it's programming in like a sequential way. So it's pressing forward 3 times and then having them turn and then move. So it's activating that knowledge of, well, they're retelling and sequential order, but it's also bringing in that coding aspect of programming their robot to the right spot. So they're hitting a bunch of different areas with just one assignment.
This was a project for grades 3 through 5. It was over the span of 4 weeks, and the end goal was for students to create a Lego float and code that Lego float to travel down a road. So their first step of the project was to sketch out their designs. And then on the right, you can see students begin to build their designs. I've never seen students so engaged during a 4-week period. And I think the most devastating part for them was telling them they had to take the Legos apart at the end of it.
Former Walpole wrestling coach Barry Greener was inducted into the 2022 Massachusetts chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Greener began working for Walpole High School as a history teacher in 1971, later serving as an assistant football coach and head wrestling coach. In an exclusive interview with Walpole Media, Greener reflects on his 50-year career at Walpole High School and life after retirement. Here's more from that interview.
We had a nice ceremony at the Putnam Club at Gillette Stadium. It was very well run, very well done, and it was a privilege to go in with, 5 other outstanding coaches and 2 referees.
Right.
My family really enjoyed it. It was a very, very well done. I do freshman football with Tommy Hart. Tommy Hart, the head coach, does a great job. So it's basically, I'm with 3 Walpole policemen.
Right.
And the 4 of us do the freshmen. Sully was nice enough to keep me in the program, which I greatly appreciate, because it's so enjoyable.
Right.
And then I do winter and spring track, and I really enjoy in the summer at 6 in the morning. Now instead of varsity gut camp, I do freshman. I help with freshman gut camp.
Right. That's
and
great.
It's great. It's
Right.
been a great 50 years.
Yep.
51, 50, whatever it is. I can't count that high, but no, I really enjoy it.
Right.
And it's nice to get out of the house. I think when you retire, you have to do something.
Very true.
Total retirement, I don't think is healthy.
Yeah.
It's not good for you.
The Council on Aging celebrated 4 years at the South Street Center on Friday, January 13th. Here's more from that story.
Come as a stranger, leave as a friend. That motto is fixed above the South Street Center entrance, where today the Council on Aging is celebrating 4 years of service to Walpole's elderly residents. Happy birthday
to you. Officially, we cut the ribbon on this place on December 19th. In 2018, and we opened officially the first day of 2019. So we're not exact on our birth date, but we celebrate in January.
Completed in December of 2018, the fully accessible building at 50 South Street spans approximately 13,000 square feet. The building's multi-use spaces allows the Council on Aging to provide seniors with services promoting socialization, education, and wellness.
When we were coming here to this building, this was all a fantasy. Well, what was it even going to be like? What could we do with this space? And now I feel like we have a better grasp of it. We understand that how the parking lot works and how to schedule programs. So it's a celebration for us too, from the staff, that we did hit a little bit of a reset button with COVID, and I think it's all for the better. We really understand the flow of this space. It runs smoothly most of the time, and we really do understand the reality versus the fantasy of what could be. We're living more in the now, which is really great.
At the celebration, several members were recognized for their consistent participation. Having signed into the building more times than any other member, John Baker considers the Council on Aging his second home.
I try to recruit people, and I tell them about all the programs that are here, what you can get involved in, and it's a great staff that is here. It's just a lovely place. It's amazing. I call it my second home. That's how great I think this place is.
The people are so friendly and welcoming, and I call it my second home. Come as a stranger and you leave as a friend.
Longtime Walpole resident Cliff Snuffer Jr. passed away at the age of 81 on January 23rd. Cliff was twice elected to the Walpole Select Board in his lifetime, serving as chair for 1 year. He also covered 4 different precincts while serving as a representative to town meeting for 36 years. Here's more from Select Board Chair James O'Neill's statement about Cliff's legacy.
Those of us who go to town meeting and participate in town meeting know Cliff is the great orator at town meeting and the great parliamentarian as well. And certainly his voice will be missed at town meeting. He was also a member of the Finance Committee. He was on the Cable Television Advisory Committee. He was on the Capital Budget Committee. He served as an advisor to the Soccer Committee, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the committee that led the way to the development of the fields at Mylod Street, the soccer fields at Mylod Street, which have been so important to the town for many, many years. He was also a member of the Isaacs Land Study Committee. This is the committee that was formed to evaluate a proposal to purchase the Adams Farm. And of course, that proposal was successfully passed, and the town has owned the farm now for 25 years. We just celebrated the 25th anniversary, and that's one of Cliff's lasting legacies, of course, is the purchase of the Adams Farm. He was involved in many other town projects and initiatives, notably the South Walpole Center, which is another big legacy for Cliff and something that was very, very important to him. He was very proud of the work that was done at the South Walpole Center, and of course he was very active with the seniors. As I talked to Cliff over those many occasions, and I'm sure you all know this, one of the things that comes clear is, all town things aside, the most important thing to Cliff was family. He was a father, he was a grandfather, he was a great-grandfather, and he had quite a number of children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all surrounding him. And it was something that made him very, very happy, and something that he drew great strength from.
Now is my favorite time of the show. We're going to send it over to downtown Rick Brown
for a look inside the final weeks of winter sports at Walpole High School.
Thank you, Jess and Pete. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea. My name is Rick Brown, your voice of Walpole High Sports, with a roundup of winter sports activities here at Walpole High School. But before we do that, I would like to start off by congratulating Walpole's fall sports student athletes who were recently named either All-Scholastics by the Boston Globe or Bay State Conference All-Stars. We'll start off with the state finalist Porkers field hockey team, which had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 players named All-Scholastics. Congratulations to co-captains Maddie Clark and Lindsay Jacobs, as well as teammates junior Karen Birch and sophomore Izzy Adams for this exceptional accomplishment. This feat of 4 players being chosen is more than any other school in any other sport this fall, so it really was a great feat. All 4 were also chosen to the BSC All-Stars, along with 10th grader Caitlin Naughton. Karen was also chosen as most valuable player of the conference. Walpole's 9-2 football team placed tri-captains Andrew Falzone and Corey Kilroy on the Eastern Mass Division III All-Star team. Additionally, Andrew and Corey were joined on the Bay State Conference All-Star team by teammates Jamal Abdal-Kalak, Max Collins, tri-captain Sean O'Brien, tri-captain Mike Welter, and Ali Salah. Sean Kerrin and Brendan Wilder were named to the Bay State All-Stars for the boys cross-country team. Miles Campbell and Brian Hope of the boys' soccer team and Brooke Malonis of the girls' soccer team were also named Bay State All-Stars for their respective teams. Walpole Media Corporation and I would like to congratulate these athletes and all the student athletes at Walpole High for their time and effort in any extracurricular venture that you perform in. Now, getting on to this winter's results. The girls' basketball team is rolling along at an 11-2 clip and stands atop both the Bay State Conference Herget Division and the MIAA Division II Power Rankings. The Timberwolves' only losses have been to unbeaten Medfield and Division I Brookline. Tri-Captain Brooke Malonis holds a slight scoring lead over Supersoft Izzy Adams, 158 points to 156. Tri-Captains Haley Brigham and Katie Hurley follow close behind with 103 and 77 points respectively. The boys' indoor track team closed out the dual meet season at 3-2 with victories over Weymouth, Braintree, and Brookline. Walpole will be heading to the Division III championships in a few weeks, and some of the Timberwolves to be eligible for this meet include senior August Ahmad, who is ranked 5th in the 55-meter dash and in the top 10 in the 300 meters. Also, senior Max Collins is ranked in the top 12 in the shot put, while junior Sean Kerrin is in the top 6 in the 1,000. Junior Kael Soto Brulad is 15th in the 55-meter hurdles, and sophomore Austin Feener is 8th in the 300 meters and 17th in the 55-meter dash. Several members of the girls' indoor track team have qualified for the Division III championships also. Sophia Axelrod broke the indoor Walpole record for the shot put with a toss of 32 feet 4 3/4 inches to qualify. Walpole's other qualifiers include Isla Zolo in the mile and 2 mile, Lisa Byerly in the high jump, Carolyn White in the 1,000 meters and the 2 mile, Lorelei Lee in the 55-meter hurdles, and Angela Cornalo Torres in the shot put. The boys' hockey team is cruising along at 8-4 and is ranked 4th in the latest MIAA Division II Power Rankings. Tri-Captain Jason Finkelstein leads the team in scoring with 7 goals and 5 assists for 12 points, while senior Griffin Curran and junior Mike Buseglia have added 4 goals each. The boys' basketball team has had a rough go against some of the Division I schools on their schedule, but are still hoping to gain postseason play with a current overall record of 6-7. Tri-Captain Trey Corbin's 183 points lead the team, just ahead of Tri-Captain Sean O'Brien's 176 and junior Jamal Kalak's 101. Girls hockey is also struggling to stay in the postseason contention with a deceiving 4-7-2 record. 5 of those losses have been by a single goal, so the T-Wolves could still surprise some teams down the stretch. Junior Elena Gavoni's 6 goals paced the team, just ahead of 5 tallies by freshman Kate Schneider and 4 each by Ava England, Kylie Walsh, Maddie Graceffa, and Nora Kelly. A very young wrestling team has several grapplers who are showing promising years. Sophomore Logan Murphy has been nearly unbeatable with a 24-3 record, including the championship at the Oliver Ames tournament and a runner-up spot in the prestigious Wayland tournament. A trio of juniors have also helped lead the way. Will Ablanalp is 10-5 at 182 pounds, while Matt Murad has an 11-6 mark at 145 pounds, and Steve Hudnick is 14-5 at 285 pounds. Well, that just about wraps it up for sports-wise. Remember, guys, you go into games as the brigade, and cheering on your fellow classmates is like an extra player on the team. So get out to some of these final regular season games and as many tournament games as you can. Cheer loud and strong. This is Rick Brown signing off. I'll see you again next month.
That's all for this month's show. Check out our YouTube channel for more information on all of today's stories.
And while you're there, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on meetings, Walpole sports, and more.
For Walpole News Today, I'm Jessica Kurgo.
And I'm Pete O'Farrell. We'll see you next time.